because I think as parents, we don't give ourselves enough grace often to say, this is my first time too. This is my first time being a parent.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Veils and Vocation. Today we're chatting with Rebecca Gruntz. We're going to talk about her conversion story and how that all sort of went down at Louisiana Tech. There was a ministry that she participated in called ACTS, which is now known as Catholic Bulldogs. How about them dogs? She's also going to talk about how that community shaped her faith and really prepared her for the vocation in which she would enter into of motherhood. We're going to talk about what it means to be a mother also, and not specifically just physical motherhood, but also spiritual motherhood. And we're going to get into the challenges and joys of this role, as well as what it means to grow in this vocation. What does it mean for you to grow as a mother and as a person because of this gift of motherhood? We're going to talk about the ways in which God works in us through both the ordinary and extraordinary moments, and how faith is a foundation for the family life, and that motherhood is both service and sanctification. I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I want to talk about how you ended up sort of in this place.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Okay. So I graduated from Louisiana Tech in psychology in 2016. I worked for a little while at Starbucks, and then realized that God was not calling me to own my own coffee shop like I originally thought. So I started looking for some jobs in psychology and mental health. I interviewed at a job 4 times. They didn't want me. It was great, and then the Lord put me where I needed to be at a company called Ascent. It was a fantastic company in Monroe, Louisiana. They helped really kind of instill a lot of values in me that I didn't know I needed to be instilled. They helped form me professionally, but around the end of 2020, my husband was about to graduate with his master's, and we wanted to be closer to family because we knew we wanted to start a family of our own. And so I was looking for jobs down south in Louisiana because all of our family's down here. And Zoe, my best friend, worked as an admissions counselor here at Fran U, and she said, we have an opening. Would you like to come be an admissions counselor? Put in your application, and I did, and that was 4.5 years ago, and I have since been just falling in love every day with this university and everything that it stands for.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the path. So you studied at LA Tech, right?
Correct.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about that time.
Okay. So when I started at Louisiana Tech, my dream was to be a pilot. I wanted to fly planes for the Air Force.
Dang.
I was in Air Force ROTC. I was there for a little over a year and a half. When it came time for the physical fitness assessment, I just could not run fast enough. And I had to make a really difficult decision to step back from ROTC, and that meant a complete new career path. I had still planned to be, a pilot at one point, or maybe a psychologist, because I changed my major by then. So that was my sophomore year. I really got into a funk. I was, fully depressed by the end of my sophomore year. I was making poor grades in classes, wasn't going to classes, just not having a good time. So I went to counseling over the summer between my sophomore and junior year. And the one thing that really stuck with me, I went a few times to like a local counselor at our church that I was at. The one thing that really stuck with me was, when you go back to school your junior year, say yes to something. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm in college. I say yes to all the things. I go to all the parties,
Yeah.
But that wasn't really true. So I got back to college, and Zoe and I were roommates, and she invited me to ACTS, which is the Association of Catholic Tech Students, and their weekly mass that they had, Sunday mass. And I was like, okay. I grew up Baptist. She had invited me to mass every Sunday for the past 2 years, and I'd always said no. But I remembered back to that say yes to something moment in counseling. And I said, okay, there's free food afterwards, so I'll go to mass.
All
so
about the free food.
Yeah, college students, free food, of course. I'm sitting in the back row of a Catholic mass probably the most intimidating experience if you didn't grow up Catholic.
Yeah.
Um, During the Sign of Peace specifically, I don't know what it was about the Sign of Peace. I think it had something to do with just the aspect of the community. I felt this overwhelming sense of welcome home.
Mm.
And so that year, I didn't stop going to Acts. I continued going to Mass regularly. And the my senior year, I started in RCIA and was confirmed the end of senior year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the role that this Acts ministry had in your life. Share a little bit about it, because I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so it's not called Acts anymore. I think they're Catholic Bulldogs now.
Dang.
Association of Catholic Tech Students. I served on the retreat team with my husband. He was not my boyfriend to begin with, I think. I think we started dating in the middle of the retreat season. So Acts always had a spring retreat, and it was a huge, similar to what we down here know of as Acts,
Right.
weekend retreat. Uh, but it was a layout. We served on the team as the skit committee, so we had skits that would be performed by students, and it was really cool. It was a beautiful thing, something that I honestly hope to see here one day, because the campus ministry was fully led by students. There was student leadership. We had a campus minister. He was a Franciscan. So speaking of saint stalkers, St. Francis, he's been my stalker from day one.
Yeah.
He had a huge role in my conversion. I think the Franciscan charism, I didn't realize how much it has just been ingrained in my life from that start, and then working at a Franciscan university. So yeah, that had a huge part in college, my last 2 years of college. I stepped away from things that I had been doing with ROTC. I specifically remember a moment my senior year when I was going to have to miss a big conference that I was supposed to go to with an organization I was a part of. And I had a friend who had been one of my close friends in ROTC, and she was like, "You've changed." We're sitting at lunch, her and another friend of mine. "You've changed." And I just really wanted to be like, yeah, I've changed, I've found Jesus again,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So real. I feel like that's so many people's experience too. Like, people that have known us and they're like, "There's something different about you," and I don't know what it is. And you're like, there's a part that's like, "Oh, I can tell you right now, 100% I know what it is. I'm like a joyful person because I know who my creator is." And then you're also like, "They're gonna think I'm like this weird Jesus person, so maybe I should like," but it's like, man, that's the gospel. Like, be changed and then show others what that change looks like and what a gift it is. That's really cool. So you did Acts from what year did you start that?
So I joined my junior year, so that would have been 2014.
So your senior year is when you were on the retreat team.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like working on that team and going through RCIA at the same time?
So RCIA starts kind of with the school year. I think it started in like October, and then confirmation. I actually think my confirmation, you know what, actually, I take that back. I had not been confirmed yet. It was close. So the retreat overlapped with when RCIA retreat would have been, and they allowed me to do that instead of the RCIA retreat.
Okay, cool.
Because that's when we had, that was where my first confession was.
Nice. That's so awesome.
Retreat. But yeah, no, it's a beautiful experience. It was fun. I'm gonna be honest, I've slept since then and had 2 babies, so I don't remember much of the details. I just remember
for sure
we went to a retreat center in Ruston. We had a great time. We had the social or the skit committee. There was an aspect, and there was like a food committee. The retreat leaders. We had about 10 people on the team, just like logistically and stuff. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So you graduated from Tech. Did you pursue like higher whatever, like graduate school after that?
I did. I've tried graduate school twice. I'm going to try again and be successful this time, this fall. I was undiagnosed ADHD until I was 27. So every time I try grad school, I didn't really understand why I was struggling so much, but in hindsight, I have much deeper understanding now as to why I was struggling.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, I tried to go into an MBA program. I don't do well with math, so having to try to take a finance class, not good. And then I tried industrial and organizational psychology because I did love the psychology side. And actually, the degree that I'm going to be pursuing this fall is organizational leadership. So I'll have a master's in organizational leadership in a couple of
Wow.
years.
What does that look like?
Good question. I'll tell you in a couple of years.
Yeah, let me know when you finish. Wow, that's really cool actually. I mean, I have like an idea, but yeah. Cool. So you graduate. Um, I want to talk a little bit about sort of these changes, right? We talked about Therese talks a lot about the little way, and right, there's these little changes, these little things. It's all wrapped up into her theology. Um, what are like thinking back, some of like the biggest little changes that you can remember that, right? She talks so much about like these little things that are actually like what? Little? Um, anything that can stick out.
I think, and this is gonna sound bad, I didn't know until probably a few years ago that like not going to mass regularly is a mortal sin. I feel
Mm.
like everyone finds that out at a later time than they probably should.
Yeah.
So I think consistency in mass was a little change that's had a huge impact. Um, After we had our first daughter, she's 3.5. So we had about 9 months or so after she was born where we struggled to consistently go to mass and everything. Really, that was also during the kind of tail end of the global pandemic, and so
Oh, yeah.
everyone was struggling to go to mass then.
Yeah.
But I got connected with a prayer group who I've been connected with now for 3 years. It was actually that August after she was born, so we've been meeting every Saturday. That's another, feels little, but having that community of women,
Mm-hmm.
we're all kind of between, we technically have an age, 25 to 35, but it's really more like 20 to 40. But everyone's in a different walk of life, but there are enough women in there in the same walk of life that we're able to really connect. Like one of my best friends she started this prayer group, so that change has had a huge and lasting impact.
And that's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about that because community is one of the greatest little changes you could ever have. What has it been like sort of living into that with these people?
It is, it's beautiful. I mean, we meet every Saturday. Some Saturdays we have a full house of 12 to 15 women, and some Saturdays there's two or three of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone through the last 3 years. We started kind of picking up random studies that we would go through. More recently, there was a year where we focused on feminine genius, and so every study that we did was focused on that. But they're also the women that I go to, like when I have a question. Like I said, one of them, my best friend, she's got 3 kids with the fourth on the way. So when I have a question about being a mom, or if I'm just struggling being a mom because it's hard sometimes,
Yes.
they're the people that I lean on and say, this is this is hard, and how do we make it bearable?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
having that community, but it's also huge to have a community to hold you accountable when you're struggling to go to mass. If you have someone who can say, "Hey, I haven't seen you in mass for the last month. Where have you been?"
Yeah.
Like they're the women that are going to call that stuff out.
That's really awesome.
So
Yeah. And what is it also like being that person, right? Because yes, I mean, we definitely, myself, get called out a lot, but like also then there's like, hey, like, and it's not from this place of like, haha, you weren't at mass. It's like, no, like I genuinely care about your soul and like you.
mm-hmm.
Like, are you doing good? Like, what's it like been living into that for other women?
I think so. Like here at Fran U, almost a year ago, I started a Bible study for faculty and staff, women faculty and staff. And so that has been similarly, I've been able to call people to that. we're small. Not a lot of people come. We had 3 people yesterday, and that's okay. I think the consistency in it, and when people aren't showing up that we're showing up regularly, I can say, hey, what's going on? How can I pray for you?
Yeah.
That's something that I lean into. One of my, I haven't had the official like charism test or conversation with a spiritual director, but one of my charisms is definitely encouragement. And so I believe if I see someone struggling with something, and I don't like to be the center of attention, so I will go slide a note under your door and
Yes,
avoid
you will.
eye contact.
You have done that to me.
I would rather you not have to, know that it came from me, but of course I'm going to still sign my name. But that encouragement I think is really important, because I try to really lean into like, okay, the Lord put this person on my heart for a reason. I'm going to go and send them a piece of encouragement. And oftentimes, almost every time I send a note, I get a text or a note back saying that is exactly what I needed to hear that day, that morning. So just leaning into those nudges.
That's super awesome. When did you start to notice? Has it always been like something prevalent? Like, I don't know, I just like am encouraging people a lot, or did you tune into it?
I think it's always been prevalent. I don't think I ever put a word to it until recently, until I realized like that is one of the 24 charisms is encouragement. But I've always been, even in high school, I wanted to be an ROTC. I wanted to be in the Air Force. I wanted to be an officer. I always was a leader in my class. I, like to step in and help wherever I can. For a long time, I called myself a professional helper. Still think that's true.
That's awesome.
So I think there was it's just kind of something that's been ingrained in me. I'm an older sister, so encouraging my little brother. Just through life. My parents got divorced when I was 16, so trying to be the strong one and encouraging my mom, which shouldn't have been my role, but it was. It's just something I leaned into. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. And it's not like, oh, I get converted and now I have these gifts. It's like, actually, no, they're like always with us. Now I just like know what it is and I know how to use it better because I'm like becoming more attuned to this thing that I've been called to live out for the rest of the world, right? Like people need Rebecca to be encouraging, right? Like, like people, like you said, someone writes a note, like I needed that, right? It's a call from the Father to say, this is a gift that I've given you, please live it out, and you do that, right? So that's really awesome. Cool. I want to talk, you mentioned that your mother, what a gift that is. I want to talk about a little bit about that, because that is not necessarily a small change or a little change. But it has lots of little changes in it, right? Like the way that you mother a 3-month-old versus the way that you mother a 2-year-old is really different. And so I want to talk a little about your experience with that and the graces, and like also this is really hard. Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, the sacrifices. I know I talked before we started about St. Therese had her sacrifice beads and the things that she struggled with, giving those over to the Lord. Even if it's just a little thing, like you're in Mass and someone is clicking a pen behind you or opening a candy, like give that struggle to the Lord and turning it around. But it's really hard. I don't want anyone to look in on my life and say, she's got it easy. She knows what she's doing. I was thinking about this the other day as I was changing Christopher. He's my almost 1.5-year-old. And I was doing bedtime, and our bedtime routine is consistent. We do the same thing every night. And I was like, man, I wonder if someone would judge how I do bedtime. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter, because this is how it works for our family.
Yeah.
It works different for every family. But specifically, I think the maternal aspect of my vocation is huge. There are the 4 aspects that we fall into: daughter, sister, mother, wife. So those, as a woman, infant, and genius. Even if you aren't specifically called to physical motherhood, there are plenty of religious women that we know are called to spiritual motherhood.
100%.
And what does that look like for them? But there are little things for sure that those little changes. I was just sharing yesterday, we're potty training my 3.5-year-old,
Mm.
and it feels like we've been potty training my 3.5-year-old since she was 2.5. And it is the biggest struggle. And there are days where I say something and I can't stand that I said something to a 3.5-year-old the way I did, you know?
Yeah.
But I think recognizing in the moment, another grace the Lord has blessed me with, even before having children, is just self-awareness. I don't know if it comes from having a psychology background or just, I don't know, I've always been kind of a mature, you know, I was one of those kids that was mature for her age when she was growing up, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So having that instinct, though, for sure, to know when you make a mistake with your child that you can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've tried to, I don't want to say fix it, but you can fix your perspective on it, I think is a better way to say that. I've tried to tailor my social media, you know, what I'm taking in to be more focused on positive things. And so I often see one of the influencers that pops up is, you know, little prayers throughout the week to get you through being a mom. And I share those to my feed. But one of the things that's helped me with is just shifting my perspective. You know, okay, I snapped at my daughter, but I've also apologized. And because I think as parents, we don't give ourselves enough grace often to say, this is my first time too. This is my first time being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a break. No one taught me how to be a parent.
Yeah.
You know? Like, yes, it's their first time on earth, but same.
So real. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Even like when looking at that, like a lot of people talk about motherhood is right, it's a vocation, and I 100% agree, but I think that there's so much within motherhood, like there's so much like growth and like change within you as you're like learning from this like baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's like these vocational calls that begin to unfold, just like in growing as a mother with your child. What are some of these ways that you maybe experienced like your vocation begin to change as your kids grow?
I think one thing I keep trying to remind myself of is that their spiritual growth and learning about the church starts at home. And so if I'm not exemplifying what I hope to see in her as a Catholic mom, then she's not going to pick up on that, and she's not going to take that into her life, you know. So I'm the first catechist. You know,
Yeah.
she'll have a catechist one day for sure. She'll have probably plenty going through catechism, PSR, but the parents should be the first catechist. It starts at home. And so that's something little that I'm understanding more and more about our faith is like, I want to know more so that I can teach her more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's again where that community really helps, having women, if I have questions about what does the church teach about this, and I've got 20 women at my disposal who maybe have a little bit more information about that.
Yeah.
And Sarah Beth, so she's 3.5, is the innocence of a child. The way she understands and loves Jesus just is gut wrenching sometimes. And so those little moments, um, I'll give you an example. So our priest holds up, one of the priests who's leaving now, holds up the Eucharist once it's broken, the body of Christ in the shape of a heart. And one day she was paying attention during Mass, which doesn't happen often, but she was paying attention, and she said, what's that heart? It's a heart. And I said, you know, this is one of those moments where like, how do you describe that to a 3.5-year-old? Well, it's the heart of Jesus, you know, and we get to consume it in Mass. And she said, can I have Jesus' heart? And I was like, well, you're not quite old enough. But that was like over a month ago now, and every Mass she says, am I old enough?
That's so
And I'm
good.
like, you know, she's just so sweet. So
Yeah,